This one trick will give you a 20% edge in baseball. In this video, I'm going to show you guys exactly what that bet is and how you can exploit to give yourself a long-term edge betting on baseball. Now, this is going to be a live strategy. All right, this is going to be a live strategy. Now, let's go ahead and take, for example, let's say Aaron Judge. We're going to say Aaron Judge, the prop that we're looking at, let's just say, for example, is for him to get over 1+ hit. What does that mean? That means he has to get one hit, right? If he gets one hit, we end up winning. But pregame, let's look at the odds here. All right, let's say the odds pregame are -200. Okay, so that's a implied probability of about 66%. That's just right off the bat. That's with no other probability thrown into the equation. This is just what the sports book is telling you. That's the chance of him getting a hit right off the bat. Now, if you watch some of my other videos where I show you how to go in detail and be able to find the true probability behind that to compare to the implied probability, now let's say the true probability, okay, the TP, the true probability on this play is, let's say it's something a little bit more. Let's not say something crazy, okay? Let's say it's 70%. All right, so we got right off the bat, you have a 4% edge, okay? Right off the bat in this play, let's say we have a 4% edge because our true probability is 70 and our implied probability is 60%. All right, that's the implied probability. Now, let's say the game starts, okay? This happens in every baseball game. Game starts, first at bat. Now, I'm not saying this happens in every single game, but we have an opportunity like this in every single game. Game starts out, he gets his first at bat, he whiffs or he strikes out or he walks, so he doesn't get a hit in his first at bat. So now, what happens live? Live, Judge's line to get 1+ hit goes from that -200, now it drops down to -140. All right. Now, he still has that true probability of 70% there. Okay. He still has that true probability of 70%, even though he did not get a hit in his first at bat. Now, let's say we go through the rotation once more. Gets his second at bat coming. He walks, strikes out, flies out, grounds out, to something like that. So now what happens? Live, Judge to get 1+ hit goes to, say, +140 now. Okay. Now, again, even though he started out 0 for 2, now in any game, he should have at least 2 more at bats, if not 3, if the game is going decent and everybody else is kind of getting hits but him. So, since he bats in the top tier of the lineup, he could possibly get 5 at bats in a game, but he for sure is going to get 4. Okay, so his first 2 at bats, he doesn't get a hit for us. All right, he's 0 for 2. But remember this, his true probability is still 70% in that game. That doesn't change. Okay, because this was pregame. Pregame, he still has that opportunity, 70%, whether or not he went 0 for 2 to start the game or not. So now what do we have? We have a +140 line with a 70% edge still. Okay, then this is live. Like I said, this is a live betting strategy. So you're going to find this edge live. So now what do we have? His third at bat. Let's say we got in on +140. So +140 now. His implied probability there is around, it's about 46%. Okay, 46% now. Comparing that to his true probability, which is still 70%, because that didn't change. His true probability is still 70%. Now we have an edge of +24% here. Okay, we have a 24% edge now because live we were able to catch a way better line because his odds are going to keep plummeting because, he's going to have less at bats to be able to get that hit. But overall, we still pre-game, if we played this and still had a 4% edge, we still have a 70% edge. If we played it pre-game, doesn't matter if he's still 0 for 2, we still have 2 at bats for him to try to get a hit to get us that original win. Okay, but live, now you've created yourself a +140 line with a 24% edge. Okay, a 24% edge. Now, this happened, I'd say, a couple days ago, actually, with Trey Turner. All right, so let's go with Trey Turner here, for example. Trey Turner, his line pregame to get 1+ hit was -320. All right, that's a hefty implied probability. Okay, that's like a 75% implied probability. All right, now these numbers aren't exact. I'm just spitballing them, but they're around that same. So his number was about 75%. All right, for an implied probability there. His true probability was around the same. So his true probability was about 76%. All right. So we only had a 1% edge really there pre-game. Pre-game was a 1% edge. Now, he started the game out and went 0 for 3 in his first his first 3 at bats. He went 0 for 3. Okay. This line drastically dropped to plus 200 now live for him to be able to get a hit. The reason why, because he's only going to have probably 1 at bat left, right, to be able to get that hit for us, possibly 2. In this game, he ended up actually having 2 more at bats, but on his 4th at bat, he was able to get the hit. All right, so he ended up going. He got a hit in his 4th at bat and his 5th at bat. So in the game, he actually ended up going 2 for 5. Okay, but look at the edge here. Now, if you would have took that at a plus 200, okay, your implied probability on a plus 200 is in like that 40% range. And then his true probability is still 76%, regardless how he started. So then you gave yourself a plus 36% edge there. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that this happens with every batter. Okay. They still have to have a true probability percentage that's better than their implied probability that start the game out. You can't just go in there randomly betting guys that go 0 for 3 and they're plus 200. That's not going to work. They still have to have a true percentage that is high enough for them to get a hit in that specific game for you to still have an advantage. Now, sometimes you will lose. Okay. Sometimes he will go 0 for 4 when he has a 76% probability of getting a hit. It is what it is. But this is an opportunity for you to be able to create a huge edge. Like these 2 edges here are huge in-game live to be able to get numbers like that on players that pre-game are huge odds like that. So that is how you can create yourself an edge in baseball with the single prop of being able to go over 1+ hit, betting it live, pending on if they pretty much whiff in their first couple at bats or not. This is how you create your edge in baseball with that player prop. And remember, when you have an edge, then every bet becomes a winning opportunity. As always, guys, I'm Frank of Linemaker Sports. I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, I'm out.